So let's move on now and implement the search activity Java code to go along with the XML we created in the layout in the previous video. Okay, so let's create the search activity class. I'm going to click the package, right click, new Java class. Search activity is the name. And this one's going to extends fragment activity. But it also needs to implements loader manager dot loader callbacks list friend. Because it's going to be showing that list of results on the screen using the loader technology, we need to implement it like that so we get the callbacks to come back to this class. Okay, so let's just make a bit of space here. Private static final string log underscore tag equals search activity dot class dot get simple name for our logging. We need a custom adapter, private friends custom adapter m adapter, or m friends custom adapter is fine. Private static int loader ID equals 2. We're going to start by 2, even though it's a different loader, just to make sure there's no conflict with the other one. We're going to make it 2. Private content resolver m content resolver. We need a private list object for the friends or the results. So it's friends. This will be the records that are retrieved. Friends retrieved. So make it clear what they are. We need a list view so we can publish them on the screen. And of course we've got some edit. Oops, be lowercase there. And we've got some buttons. And I mentioned in the previous video we could have just typed text view there, but just to show you the difference, edit text m search. Search edit text. Private button m search friend button. And we need a match text. Okay. First method we want to override is on create. On create, that'll be that one there. So we want to leave the super call in, and we want to do a set content view, which you've seen before, but this time we're going to set the content view for our layout, which we created in the previous video. And of course that's search underscore layout. List view equals, so we want to get some references to the objects on the screen. r.id.search underscore, okay, what do we call that again? Search results, so that's all one word, so it's search results list. And m search edit text equals edit text find view by id r.id.search name. M search, that should be list view. M search friend button equals button find view by id r.id.search button. Make a bit more room here. Okay. Content resolver. Content resolver. M adapter, or M friends adapter that is, equals friends custom adapter equals new friends custom adapter search activity dot this and get support fragment manager, which we've talked about before, and then list view dot set adapter. So we link the adapter to the list view on the screen like so. Okay, we now need to put a listener or set up an unclick listener for our search button. So it's msearch friend button dot set unclick listener new create the new view, the on click. And what we're going to do with that, we're going to put the match text equals mSearch edit text. So we're going to retrieve the text from that has been typed in on the screen. To string like so. And then we're going to do a get support loader manager dot init loader. We're going to pass loader underscore ID plus plus. We'll talk about that shortly. A null. And then search activity. Now actually, before I explain that, we have got an error there, and most likely the error is the v4.app issue we've talked about before, so I'll delete that. And now it's going to come up with multiple choices. I didn't actually check that when I was creating it. We're going to do the v4.app.loader button this time. And that's fixed that error. And that shouldn't be there. And that's probably looking for a onload finished, I would say up there. Yes, onload finished, so that's okay. So now the loader plus plus, I mentioned that we should start with 2. We probably could have started with 1, but because every time we invoke a new loader, it should have a unique ID. So we don't want to be using the same ID each time. So what we've done, by setting up a static, there's only going to be one reference to that, so that's always going to increment. We're never going to have a duplicate loader ID. So by putting the plus plus, really it means we're starting from number 3, so I guess we could have changed that to 1 and just put the plus plus and it would be starting on number 2 anyway. So, but I'll leave it as it is now. Bottom line is that loader ID has to be a unique ID to reference this particular loader manager that we're invoking. Okay, so loader ID is the unique identifier. Null is any parameters we want to pass to the loader, but we haven't got any, so the default, which you'll use most of the time, will generally be null. And search activity is where we want the callbacks to come back to. In other words, to come back to this class, and that's because we're going to be implementing the methods to make sense of that data when it does get retrieved and put back or sent back to us. Okay, so that's that function, and that's really all that function needs to be. So we've got a couple more functions we still need to create. We need to create the onCreate loader. We need to override that. onCreate loader. And we're going to do a return new friends search list loader. We're going to pass search activity dot this friends contract dot URI table, and this dot we're going to pass the parameter the content resolver, and then we're going to pass also match text. That's going to be the constructor parameters, and we haven't obviously created friends search list loader yet. We're going to be doing that. We'll come back to that. So we were initializing, that's how to initialize the loader, and we've talked a lot about the loader before, and you'll find the friends search list loader is going to be very simple, it's very similar to the other loader that we created earlier, but we're going to be doing something a little bit different because we're going to be searching based on a parameter that we've passed, which is a sort of subset of friends objects that we want to return. So we also need an onload finished, so I'm going to override that, onload finished. And that will be madapter and when custom friends adapter dot set data, and I'm going to call that friends just so it's clearer, and we'll change this to friends. So this is when the loader's finished and done its thing, and we've got some data back. We want to put that in the adapter so it ultimately will get displayed, and we want to save that as well. Search, so it was friends retrieved, I believe. Friends retrieved equals friends as well. Okay, and if you have been doing your homework at home, you'll know there's one other function we need to implement, and that's the onloader reset. Onloader reset, and it's madapter. Of course, we just set that to null. We set the data to null in the case of there being a problem, so we're just going to make that null. Oh, sorry, in the case of it being reset, the loader being reset for whatever reason, we want to basically delete out the data. So that's this class search activity created. So to implement the friends search list loader, it's not going to take a long time, and that's because we're going to copy the basic functionality in our other loader. So we're going to go over here. We're going to go to our friends list loader. I'm going to right click and copy. I'm going to go to package, right click and paste. And that's going to give us the name of the new class, and we're going to call this friends search list loader. That's because the functionality is very similar. And you can see automatically what's happened is Android Studio has renamed the class for us conveniently, and we can go ahead and make some changes. So there's only a few changes because we can click into it to the full screen. All the results, deliver results, we don't have to change the code for that, or on start loading, or on stop loading, or on reset, or on cancelled, or force load. That's all going to stay as it currently is, as it was in the friends list loader. The only two things we need to change is we need to change the constructor, and we need to save the match text. So we're going to put a private string filter text, we're going to call it. And so the constructor is going to have another parameter on the end, string, we'll call it filter text. Just to be consistent, we'll call that mFilter text. That's what it should be called. And it should be a capital, obviously. And we should save that. So mFilter text equals filter text. Okay, so that's all we need to do for our constructor. And then we also need to just change the load-in background a little bit. Because if you recall, just incidentally, the other smart thing that copy and paste did, you notice that it also updated the log tag ID for us. So it's really quite smart copy and paste. And look, we could have created a class to subclass from that had some of this functionality in it. But I like to show you how get you into the habit of getting used to copying and pasting classes, taking bits and pieces out of them and so forth, and adapting them, because it's a real skill, a valuable skill to learn. You know, to take existing functionality and to adapt it for your purposes can save you a lot of time. So that's why we're doing it this way. So with the previous load-in background, what that was doing was just returning all records. There wasn't any way to break it down. There wasn't any filter to say only return the records. You know, for example, with the name Tim, or with the name starting with Tim, or something like that. So what we're going to do is just adapt this method a little bit, so that it actually enables us to do just that, to have a filtered set of results. So what we need to do is we need to look at the query method, but we need to pass that some slightly different parameters. And the way we do that is pretty simple. We create a selection clause. We're going to put string selection equals. We're going to call it, we're going to filter this on the friends name. So we're going to be friends column dot friends name. So we're going to say using a little bit of sort of like SQL. We're going to be plus like. So like is the way that you filter your records. So we're saying, give me all the records that are like this, and then we give it some sort of filtered criteria, and it will only return those. So what we're going to do is we're going to put like, as I've got there on the screen, plus filtered text plus, and we're going to put a percent, single quote, and the double quote and the semicolon. So the like, again, is the operator that returns a subset of records, and by putting a percent after the filtered text that was passed was from the search activity, what we're saying is match, it's a wild star match, anything after that. So for example, if the use typed Tim as the filter criteria, by putting a percent, that will return any records that have got the friend's name of Tim, but also Timothy, Timo, you know, anything with those words, even the word time, for example. So I think of that as a wildcard. We're still matching anything that starts with that, but then it's anything that ends after as well. So that's how the filter works, but you'll see that in operation once we're running. Then the only other thing we need to do now is go into here, double click into that, and put in selection. So we're now passing the selection to the query process, so it's going to filter the records and only return the ones that match the filtered criteria that was passed to us from the search activity, and like a partial match. And then of course we're using the percent to make sure that anything with the text after our filtered text is also covered. So that's literally the only change we need to do. We don't need to change anything else in this class, and we're good to go. So we're going to finish the video here. In the next video, we're going to do that little bit of cleanup, and then we'll be ready to start testing.